talk about this here. So I saw this clip on social media, and it was, so LeBron James has this barbershop show on HBO, okay? Part of his media company, Uninterrupted. And so there was a conversation with Lil Nas X, Kevin Hart, and others about Lil Nas X coming out gay. Roll the clip.
And with all that early success, you felt it was important to make an announcement recently.
He said it was gay, so what?
Yeah, what's the point?
So why did he feel that was necessary? It's not about who cares. That's actually my question. Why did he feel it was necessary to come out and say that?
It's not that, like, it's, like, being forced. It's just, like, knowing, like, growing up, like, I'm growing up to hate this shit. I'm not supposed to ever like
Hate
this.
what? Hate what?
Homosexuality, gay
Why?
people. Come on now.
Why are you going to
If
hate
you're really
it?
from the hood, you know, like it's not some. So it's like if for me, the cool dude with the song on top of everything to say this, any other time, like I'm doing this for attention in my eyes. But if you're doing this like while you're at the top, you know it's like for real, and it's like showing like it doesn't really like matter, I guess.
Exactly, it doesn't.
There it is.
Now, allow me to deconstruct this. And so there was this huge backlash on social media of people saying, oh, that's the stuff that happens in black barbershops, you know, homophobic, sexist, all they talk about is women, and stuff along those lines. And they were trashing, I can't believe Kevin Hart said that. Okay, the point of the show is to have conversations that we don't have. See, it's a little idiotic to say, I'ma trash the people, I'ma trash Hart, I'ma trash the other guys who said, well, so what? Why'd you come out? Them saying that is what leads to Lil Nas X explaining why he did it. See, if everybody in the barbershop goes, oh man, that's so brave of you, that ain't real. Because in real life, we have real conversations.
Right.
See, what has also happened in this society is we have created this whole notion of black men as these wild, dangerous, angry, sadistic, crazy, outlandish individuals, as if beauty shops ain't talking about lesbians.
How about that?
See, we have created this dichotomy of black women of being so knowledgeable and accepting and loving and open, and black men as being haters and closed-minded, when the reality is you got black men who don't like gay people, you got black women who don't like gay people, and then you got people who say, let's actually have dialogue.
Right.
For a lot of folks out there who don't even understand, I've been in black barbershops. I've been in the barbershop where one cat said some bullshit and got checked by somebody else.
Every time.
And then somebody said, oh, damn, I didn't even know that.
Come on, brother.
Then you got the cat who think he knows what he's talking about, but he ain't Googled a damn thing and ain't read nothing.
That's right.
But then he gets checked by the knowledgeable brother in the barbershop who does know stuff. Then you got the person in the barbershop who they think know a lot of stuff until somebody who actually has read some shit comes to the barbershop
Yes.
to get a haircut.
Yes, sir. Yes,
See,
sir.
I've been in that position.
We all
Where
have.
you sitting there, Greg, you know, you sitting there,
Come on,
and then
bro.
all of a sudden somebody sitting there talking, and you like, you know
Come
what,
on.
I ain't really trying to
Come
bust
on.
his
But
ass.
you know,
Roland.
Well, I'm not done. But everything he's sitting there, you got to wait, Julian. This is a deconstruction. I'll let you know when you get to talk. Okay?
Thank you, Roland.
It's a deconstruction. So what happens, y'all, is I've been there where they run their mouth and you like, I ain't trying to say
No
nothing.
question.
Because see, I'm gonna embarrass his ass
No
if I
question.
say something.
No question.
But then he keep talking, then you go ahead and embarrass him.
Gotta say something.
We also talk and say,
Gotta say
well,
something.
black men don't talk enough. That's what the hell they were doing.
That's right.
Okay? They then said, then when Lil Nas said, come on, y'all from the hood,
Come
y'all
on.
know.
You know what
he
it
was
is.
saying, y'all know what the real deal is.
Yeah.
Let's not trip because these cameras are here.
Right.
So why do we sit here and trash them for being them and having a real conversation? We know why Lil Nas X came out, and he's right. Because he said, I grew up and it was bad. Here I am, big star. I can help somebody else who's going through the same situation. Because, see, we all have understanding of what we do. I had somebody ask me, and they said, Somebody asked me and they said, when Caitlyn had her surgery, you talk about it? Nope. I said, that's personal. They didn't write. I said, I don't talk about personal stuff. They're like, what do you mean? I said, have you ever seen me talk about a celebrity who got married? Nope. Have you ever seen me talk about a celebrity who got divorced? Nope. Have you ever seen me talk about a celebrity who dating somebody? Nope. You ever seen me talk about a celebrity who had a baby? Nope. You know why? Because I don't give a damn. There are so many entertainment shows out there. If that's what you want, go watch those. I don't have the time for that. So my deal is, it ain't because Caitlyn went from a man to a woman. It's not because somebody gay. Found like when Robin Roberts came out. Okay. You do the story? No. Because that's your business. That's a standard that I have on the show, because if I start talking about all celebrity stuff, who's they dating, who they married to, who they now with, then guess what this becomes? A celebrity show. We have finite time, and we talk about stuff that's not covered elsewhere. But again, that's my news judgment. Now, I would be wrong if I discuss celebrity stuff, but I ain't want to discuss stuff that's where somebody who's gay came out. This is like, hold up, why you got a different standard? The reason this pisses me off is because we have this society, and black folks are really doing this as well, but we are trashing black men who are trying to be more transparent and open and honest and having conversations. Because see, if y'all really want to go there, you go to a black women's conference, oh hell, they talking about all kind of stuff. They sitting here crying. I mean, they are wailing, and you name it.
Wailing.
But you go to a black male conference, and you got most folks talking about sports plans, dominoes, tonk, spades, bid, whist, because it's about games. Because we promote this whole idea when black men get together or men get together, it's all fun and games, but women get together and they working on themselves, stuff along those lines. If you don't like the honest and raw conversations they have on this show, well, don't watch. But it's wrong of us to get mad when somebody in an actual conversation says something and that's their particular point of view. Remember a couple of years ago when Mark Cuban was on a panel and he talked about how he felt if a group of black men were dressed a certain way and they were approaching him, how he would respond. People got all upset. And I was like, and I said it, why y'all getting upset? Because that's Mark Cuban actually being honest. If Mark Cuban can't be honest about that conversation, then how can we actually break down walls? See, the problem I have is we have fake conversations. Oh, we have fake conversations. We have fake conversations on television. We have fake conversations on radio. Or people sit here and they don't really want to be honest, and you sitting there going, you know you full of shit. And you know you lying. Because what they're doing is they're playing to the audience because I don't want to come across as being a certain way. I believe the reason we have problems in our marriages, in our families, in our frats, in our sororities, in barbershops, in beauty salons, in groups, because we don't have real, raw conversations. My last point in this deconstruction is why I feel this way, is I'm a life member of Alpha Phi Alpha, plays at Texas A&M Paul McCarn chapter, and we had brotherhoods. So we had a reunion one year, and so we went to this clubhouse of one of the undergraduate brothers. So we walked in, and the brother's like, all right, man, so we got food here, and so we got the music going on, we got stuff to drink, our girlfriends and the AKs, they coming by about 9:30, then we go to a party. And we all like, we looked at, the grad brothers went, do they not know this is a brotherhood? We were like, okay, turn the music off. Put the alcohol down. Call your girlfriends, tell them they ain't invited. Call them AKs, tell them they can't come over here. And these young brothers were like, what y'all doing? We said, we gonna teach y'all ass what a brotherhood is. See, a brotherhood, what we call it, is not a time when we get together and play games.
Right.
A brotherhood is where we get together, close the door, and we have brotherly conversations. We were having this one conversation where brothers were talking about black on black crime. We were talking about, oh man, I couldn't kill another brother. Then we had one brother said, y'all all full of shit. He's like, well, he said, I will kill a man in a heartbeat. They were like, what? He said, I did when I was in Iraq. He said, one of us was going home in a body bag and it was not going to be me. He described killing a man, an Iraqi, with his bare hands. That totally changed our discussion on killing somebody else. Because we were talking about it in the abstract. He said, let's brought it for real. In that brotherhood, we had brothers who gave their lives to Christ. We had brothers who talked about their marriages disintegrating, brothers who talked about sexual addiction. Y'all, we didn't leave that brotherhood till 7 a.m. What is my point? When black men get together and have real conversations,
That's right.
transformative things happen. The problem with the television show is you get to see it and now you want to comment on it.
That's right.
I would rather have brothers say what they said and then we talk about it than not have a conversation.
That's right.
So for those of you who got a problem with what you heard, check yourself. What you should be saying is, thank goodness there's a TV show owned by LeBron James featuring black men having discussions that you ain't hearing other places, instead of you judging what somebody said in a conversation.
That's right.
My deconstruction on this ends. Now y'all can comment.
You know, Roland, I sent you a text.
You would be talking, you would just jump out, be the first one. We talking
Yes,
about
I would.
black men, this conversation.
Because
Julie, I
love
want to go
black men.
first.
Because
Go
I love
ahead.
black men, I love my brothers, and I.
Oh, I'm gonna mess with you, but go ahead. All right.
Yeah, you always messing with me. What's new? But the point is this. One of the point, we don't wail at our conferences, by the way.
Yes, y'all do.
No, we don't.
Don't ain't
But
front. First of all, my wife is an ordained minister, and look, y'all, I've been to women's conferences, and y'all wail. I've heard, matter of fact, hell, I was at the Chris Tucker golf tournament,
Well, I
and
don't wail.
there was a women's conference taking place at the same time. This sister was wailing.
Okay, you
No.
saw one sister
Let me be real
wailing.
clear, since you want to go there, y'all. She was wailing
Lord.
on her knees,
Lord have mercy.
on the ground.
Lord have
Wasn't nobody patting her on the back.
No,
She was in the corner. No, I ain't done.
Come
They
on.
was selling stuff. No. I'm letting her know. They was selling stuff. They were like, baby, go ahead and wail, do your thing.
Right.
But she was wailing.
All right.
Now you can go ahead.
You got
You
to-
gonna tell me what I saw with my own eyes.
You saw one sister wailing.
They
You
ain't-
did not collectively wail.
Guess what?
That's
They
the
on
point.
YouTube, Facebook saying, yeah, we wail. Go
I
ahead.
didn't see that
Right.
on my Facebook. But
Somebody just text me. We do wail.
Okay,
What
Roland,
that say,
but-
Greg?
but-
It says, we do well.
Yeah, I
Brothers
know.
well too. Brothers be well too.
but the point is, I was
Not
watching.
enough, but go ahead.
I was watching for a number of reasons some of your previous programs and being touched by the transparency in the conversations you were having with brothers. I think last week you had the brother who did the book Color Me Father.
Yep.
And before that you had the brother, your frat brother, Omari.
Amari Harwick. Yep.
Oh,
Yep. And I was watching those, trying to put together something that I'm working on. And what struck me, Roland, and I sent you a note saying you need to begin to have these conversations with brothers and to make this something we do. You know, there are plenty of women's conversations. We don't look at men as a collective. We look at women as a collective of women's issues. And, you know, I'm the last of living feminists. Last living nationalist feminist. But in any case, but we don't look at brothers as a collective, and we must, because much of the damage that happens in our community happens because there is no transparency among men about what's going on with them. But that little clip, I had never seen that before. But the brother came, he said he was gay, and why do you have to say that? Because we know there's homophobia in our community.
I ain't scared. I'm not scared of anybody's sexuality. In fact, let me just say that the black community is like the human community. It's not a monolith. We know that. So people say the black community is not a monolith. Please be quiet on that, because you haven't said anything profound.
Nope, not at all.
No, that's number one. Number two, stay out the barbershop, please. Just like when we were
What you mean
growing
by
up.
that?
No, when we was growing up, you stayed out the beauty parlor. If I needed to get a message in the beauty parlor, I stood at the door. If my mom was getting her hair fixed, and I had to go run an errand. In other words, there used to be spaces you could and couldn't negotiate. Now, because we're not a monolith, I accept unisex hairstyle, and I've had my hair cut in them. But when I want to have that unvarnished conversation, Roland, when you were talking, it was reminding me of that Richard Pryor joke. Richard Pryor said his daddy used to sit in the barbershop and wait for a Negro to make a mistake. 1940, what? They didn't fight nothing. And he said, get in your car. I got the almanac at the house.
Boom, boom.
The point is that anybody can get it in the barbershop or the beauty parlor. And I don't want to hear a conversation between women, gay, straight, LGBTQ, whatever, when they are having a conversation when they're unpacking something. Because there is a value to being in spaces where you can be unfettered. Now, Kevin Hart, for whatever reasons, jumped out there. Lil Nas X got to explain himself to the brothers. I'm not worried about your sexuality, but you got to explain yourself to me. And quite frankly, let's be clear, love to Kevin Love, but I ain't even in no barbershop with no white dudes sitting there because I'm going to have a conversation and you can finally, this is the last thing I'll say.
I knew Super Black would say I agree with you on that.
No, I'm just saying.
But go ahead. Let me go to Cleo.
Because I know we got to go.
Go
Man.
ahead.
I know it's your show, but you don't want to go too far. I guess what I'm saying is this. When you have spaces that are sacred to our people, those spaces are off limits if you're not ready to have that conversation. If there are other places you want to go, fine. But you have the choice to be able to do that. And you have the freedom of choice. But as far as I'm concerned, at my age, if you don't want to hear that, stay out the barbershop.
So, Cleo, the issue again I had here was that because it's a TV show and they're filming it and people are now getting mad at the response. No, the response was real because that's what real people say.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get mad when somebody said, well, why? Like, even you laughed when we played the clip when Kevin said it. Well, what's the problem? He like, you gay, okay? And it's like, and look, and you saying gender love it, and you were cracking up laughing, but the point here is they were having a conversation, and that's the whole point. Have real conversations.
Well, excuse me. I completely agree, because it's true that we as a people are not having enough conversations, period. And somebody made it difficult for us to unify, to have dialogue some time ago, and we're now in the festering zone of not having had conversations, and it's a long time coming that needs to happen. I think another perspective needs to be considered here. I saw this piece because your producer sent it to me. I hadn't seen it, and I saw some of the comments. And this is what has not been said yet. Same-gender-loving black people, including black men, go to barbershops to get their hair cut because they black men.
Right.
They got this kind of hair.
Right.
I hate going to the barbershop because either I'm hearing about some Christian crap or some sports or some what people call so-called homophobic conversations about faggots, etc. This is what happens all the time at the barbershop.
You got to change your barbershop.
Oh, well, I'm not talking about my barbershop. I'm talking about the phenomena that people are thinking about when they watch this show.
Yeah.
There was some moments of probably waiting to exhale, if you will, among same-gender living people who watch this, because what we're not saying or considering is that had never happened before. It's 2019. And
What
that
never happened before?
a conversation between black men where a same-gender loving person talks about what they are in the presence of other black men.
I've been in those spaces, brother.
I'm
But I
talking
hear
about-
what you're saying.
No, he's saying that's on air.
I'm on air.
Go ahead.
Please,
Go ahead.
Thank you for hearing
Thanks,
the context.
no, you're right.
I'm
I
talking about
appreciate you.
on air.
Yeah.
So people are listening with sensitivity. I disagree with the comments that I heard that were similar to what you raised in terms of people critiquing it, but I get it. Because for another problem that we have here is that the LGBTQ community, which is a war community that fights everybody, that don't take no stuff, that starts fights, that invented the word homophobia, teaches black people how to deal with who they are in very defined and defensive ways instead of rational ways in terms of reflecting with other black people. And the black community, like I told you some time ago, has not had a macro conversation about same-gender loving people being part of the black experience. There's been a macro,
So tell me
a
what you mean by
collective.
that.
What I mean is that there's been silos. There's been academic discussions. There's been discussions sponsored by white gays to get black people to speak their rhetoric.
What kind of, I'm curious.
But there has
what
not
kind
been.
of conversation are you talking about? A town hall at an NAACP meeting? Tell me what you mean.
I'm talking about black people getting together to rationally engage the fact that there's same-gender loving, bisexual, and what's called trans people in our community, and engaging that phenomena in ways that are no longer, at least for that day, judgmental or abusive or creating the scar tissue or exacerbating the scar tissue that's there that has yet to be resolved because we have not had the conversation. Even on the continent, in Uganda and Tanzania, Africans have had a conversation about this that was macro. It was televised and there were local conversations. We have not done that in my lifetime, but there have been silos. So there are people who are watching that phenomena who might be considered, if you will, too sensitive, and that might be true, who are reacting because they didn't see it pan out the way they wanted it to pan out in terms of a conversation.
Right.
What you're saying, Roland, is that it was a real conversation, and it should be seen as a real conversation, and people should not be dogging it because it didn't turn out the way they wanted it to, because people were doing something that we need to have that we're not doing.
Because when you dog it, what you're now doing is you're telling somebody, oh, I ain't gonna say nothing because I know what happened last time. And my point is, you can't.
Okay.
When somebody says, again, I go back to again the brotherhood concept. Okay, the brotherhood concept. I remember being in a brotherhood where one brother let some stuff. He repeated some stuff that happened in the brotherhood. And he got his ass whooped. And we didn't move. He got his ass whooped. And we let it go. Then it was like, okay, then we're done. Now, why? Somebody probably is like, oh, that's violence. Keep your mouth closed. The point there was, no.
Damn.
See, again,
No,
when you take care of stuff in-house, see, that was a reason why my college chapter never got infected by external forces, because we didn't let it in the house. We took care of business in the house. That's what a brotherhood does. The purpose of a brotherhood is I should be free to say whatever I want to say, and it stays in the brotherhood.
Right, but most brotherhoods...
So the point I'm saying here on this conversation here, the reason I take offense to the people who got mad is because of television, we are observers of the conversation, but we ain't in the brotherhood. If you stop it, if you stunt the conversation, you're never gonna have a real conversation. Because everybody's too careful.
Right.
And that's why my deal is when we talk about race, when we talk about sexism, misogyny, when we talk about what you're talking about, same-gender loving, you have to allow the space to create it for somebody to be so against, I don't care, because if I shut you down from the outset, there will never be a real conversation.
Guess what?
Hold
on, Cleo.
Right?
No, hold on. Cleo, and then I'm ending this in 3 minutes. Go.
Okay, one of the critiques I saw was that Kevin Hart was being phony.
Right.
Because Kevin Hart was like, oh, he's gay. And what y'all talking about? When, I'm not saying what I agree with, I'm talking about how people, I interpret behavior. They were like, wait a minute, he just got finished not getting a gig, and he has these attitudes that sound like somebody who's anti-homosexual.
But the people also, but here's the other piece. People also don't know, which I also don't know, when that was shot.
Sure.
So I don't know if that conversation was shot before the Oscar controversy or after.
Right.
No, go ahead.
But wait a minute, I'm almost finished. Oh.
Cleo, go ahead. No, Cleo, go ahead.
When the controversy happened is not really relevant.
I got you.
What he did that was so-called homophobic, and on another show I'm going to tell you why I say so-called, because we don't have time today, happened before the Oscars. It happened a long time ago.
I got you.
And so that had been registered before then. But one thing I want to close with, so you can understand the difference between somebody who's heterosexual, who might be watching this, somebody who's same-gender loving who's watching this, in terms of how they are reacting to it or might be concerned about things beyond Kevin's phoniness, is that wherever I go, people assume I'm heterosexual. So I'm in the barbershop and we do the handshake. I'm going to get my hair cut, and people will launch into the Jesus Christ N-word field. LeBron did a good hook shot, faggot conversation. And then I have to come out, but I'm not really coming out because I don't believe in coming out. I come into self-love. I come into self-knowing, and everything else takes care of itself. I'm not concerned about what nobody thinks. I don't come out to nobody. You know, I don't care what you think, so I don't come out. But the point I'm making is, though, when I see black people being foul to black people, I intervene.
What happens?
And I have to intervene a lot.
How does that unfold when you do that?
Oh, so we got time for this?
Oh.
No, we don't. But that's the big. But we're gonna save that one. So hold on. Well, go ahead, Julian.
You know,
and literally, I got 120 seconds.
The issue for me in this is you're talking about authenticity and fakeness, but is a television program the place where you expect to really see authenticity?
Yeah, hold on.
When you're desperate.
Yes, hold on. Depending on what the show is. I don't expect authenticity with them damn Housewives show, which I never watch. Right. I don't watch reality television.
Right.
But the philosophy that I have brought my entire career in media is that when I'm on radio and we're on TV, we ain't having fake conversations.
No, we real, but that's
no, but that's my point. So my point is the realness of the discussion is really predicated on the platform and the folks
But
involved.
was that the appropriate platform, Roland?
I don't. First of all, I don't watch the show every week. What I have seen clips, and what I've seen is they've had some real, honest conversations on their show about some issues that are unsettling. There are people who've gotten upset that LeBron and some other cats, I believe, have used the N-word on the show in the conversation. And their deal is, this is who we are, and this is our conversation. The only point I'm saying is that I need people to understand, you can't keep saying, man, keep it real.
Right.
And then get mad when folks keep it real.
I agree with that.
That's the most fundamental
I
issue.
agree with that.
And
Absolutely.
we can't tackle tough subjects in any community, but especially in the black community, if you don't allow people who might disagree vehemently to be there. I don't mind y'all, black conservatives are scared to death to come on my show. But here's the deal. I don't mind you being black conservative to come on my show.
As long as you're not.
I have one. No. I don't even use stupid. I have one rule. No. I have a very simple rule. Don't lie.
Oh, wow.
If you here's the deal. If you come on this show and lie, I'ma light your ass up. I don't allow lying. I don't allow. And if you make a mistake, Greg just said something, and I corrected him.
Sure did.
The thing is,
and I've done it in the past.
And here's why I do that. Because a person who's watching,
that's right.
I don't want somebody to say something. They like, well, Roland didn't say nothing, so it must be true.
That's right.
So I tell it, that's what I say. So I'm like, any black conservative, y'all are more than welcome to sit on this panel. But don't come here and lie. Then it's going to be a problem. But we just got to have these real conversations. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Great, some great camera work. So Gerald Albright was in Virginia. I shot that video last year, and so we got some other stuff we're gonna be showing y'all. But that's Gerald Albright, one of the folks performing Luxe Jazz Experience in Cabo, November 7th through the 11th. I am gonna be there, folks. We'll be broadcasting Roland Martin Unfiltered at Thursday and Friday. It's gonna be a phenomenal opportunity, folks, listening for you to have top-notch music and libations, that's alcohol, and of course golf and spa and wellness. We have the Omnia Day Club, Los Cabos, nestled in the Sea of Cortez and Celebrity Playground of Los Cabos. It's a wonderful experience, the second annual Ultimate Jazz Getaway for folks who appreciate that music. It's going to be a phenomenal time, luxury accommodations. Again, as we said, great food, great drink, golf, spa, health, wellness, all kinds of stuff we'll be doing there. And of course, the various things taking place include mini concerts, the Spirit of Jazz Gospel Brunch, Jazz Sunset Cruise. Some of the confirmed guests, comedian actor Mark Curry, Gerald Albright, as I said, Alex Bouillon, Raul Madon, Incognito, Pieces of a Dream, Kirk Whalum, Average White Band, Donnie McClurkin, Shalea, Roy Ayers, Tom Brown, Ronnie Laws, Ernest Quarles, and more. If you want to see the whole lineup, go to lifeluxejazz.com, L-I-F-E-L-U-X-E jazz.com, L-I-F-E-L-U-X-E jazz.com. And if you're wondering, this venture, it is a black-owned venture, just so y'all know that. And so I'm one of the ambassadors. I'll be there. A birthday celebration for me. We're going to have a great time. So I want y'all to go to the website, check out the packages, and look, it's going to be cold in November on the East Coast. So y'all can come hang out in Cabo for 4 days so we can have a grand time. So really looking forward to making that happen. lifeluxejazz.com, lifeluxejazz.com. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.
The controversy over Jay-Z and Roc Nation's deal with the NFL continues. The Crushers Club is one of two groups working with at-risk children in Chicago that received part of $400,000 in donations from Roc Nation and the NFL as part of their previously announced Inspire Change initiative. But the organization came under scrutiny recently when on social media posts like this showed up. This is Crushers Club's president, Sally Hazelgrove, cutting a young man's dreads off. They are also known for encouraging the phrase, all lives matter. I guess all hair doesn't matter, but to them, all lives matter and more. Are there organizations that are better suited for this kind of donation? Let's go to the panel and talk about this. I don't know about you guys, but I was absolutely furious when I saw that. I have locks. I've had locks for over 20 years now. And it is not only a physical thing to me, so I saw that, frankly, as an assault on those young men, but it's a spiritual thing to me.
Right.
And it's something that she had no clue about.
The
depth and the significance of it. A complete disrespect to us as a people to say that you cannot be someone who achieves significantly if you maintain your hair as it grows out of your head.
Right.
Yet here she is with a helmet head, and her hair apparently is fine. Okay, so it's very interesting to me. What are your thoughts about this particular controversy? Yet another to come out of this interesting and controversial Jay-Z NFL collaboration.
Yeah, I am not an expert on the Crushers Club, but obviously a picture is 1,000 words, right? I think obviously another moment of how hard it is for a minority group to assimilate in a country, particularly with our history over 400 years. I mean, it would be nice if Jay-Z had some political advisors, maybe. I'm sure he does. I'm sure he talks to people. I'm sure
I think the only people he talks to are his accountants, apparently.
Well, I mean, and again, I'm sure he's not a dumb guy at all. And that's what kind of makes it even harder. Because if you're dealing with somebody stupid, then you would just be like, okay, he's stupid, that's what this is.
Right.
But Jay-Z is not a dumb guy. And so this is, disappointing on a lot of levels. The fact that he has not stepped up after everything that happened a few weeks ago and sort of maybe just took the edge off things in terms of just saying something about Colin Kaepernick's efforts. I mean, Colin Kaepernick paid effectively with his career.
Absolutely.
To use Roland's term, he was white-balled, right? And we all know it, right, in front of everybody's face.
Right.
This is not the type of thing that we need to wait 40 and 50 years to figure out, as we did with Muhammad Ali and we did with Jack Johnson and so many other athletes who put, their politics and their personal beliefs before making the money and being popular.
Right.
So we know right now in real time what Colin Kaepernick had to sacrifice.
Right.
So it's not hard to figure out.
Right.
We're an information society. So this is not a good thing, and hopefully Jay-Z will. I have confidence that Jay-Z will figure it out and make a turn.
Really?
His wife will nudge him. Yeah, I do. I know he signed a contract. I know all that, but I also know that somebody will get in his ear, I think, at some point.
What do you think? Do you have confidence?
The only reason that Jay-Z did this was because he had to respond to a lot of Black Twitter. This was essentially a PR stunt. So he chose a city that, and I'm a native Chicagoan, I'm very familiar with this organization. He chose a city that already has a large amount of disadvantaged youth, disengaged youth, a large amount of African-American males that will not see a high school graduation, much less college. And coming off of, in the previous years, we had 3 years without a state budget, and a lot of those community organizations that serve those youth that are in turmoil had to face shutting down. And these were a lot of the Black-run organizations. This organization was well known for what it did to Black youth, in the same way that a lot of the charter schools in the city are very known for what they do to Black youth. It is destined assimilation. They tell you how you can wear your hair. They tell you what clothes you can wear. They try to change your vernacular. All of these things designed to shape you into what they feel is going to help you become successful. It has nothing to do with academics. It has nothing to do with your actual progress. It has everything to do with them erasing your culture and who you are. And I think that when you have an organization like this, it is important to call it out. I'm upset that just now it's getting a national resonation because this organization has been doing this for years and receiving a ton of funding at the federal level, at the state level, and at the local level to basically take young Black males and turn them into something else and tell them that what they look like, how they walk, and how they talk is wrong. And for Jay-Z, someone who is from Bed-Stuy, someone who has represented Black people for a very long time, someone who a lot of these young people actually look up to decide that this is the organization he wants to support. And I'll give it to you. I think that Jay-Z is a very smart man. Now, did he handpick this organization? Probably not. There was probably somebody along that line who did. But there should be something from him right now. He should be out responding to this immediately.
Yeah.
I'm frustrated that he is not.
Yeah, that is interesting, don't you think, Eugene? I mean, all of a sudden he's MIA. He had a lot to say. He had a lot to say when he had this very well-crafted press conference where he's talking about, we're done with kneeling, as if he could speak on behalf of the entire Black community, right? But now all of a sudden, when these controversies are happening, and particularly this one, which a number of people are finding especially egregious, you cannot find him anywhere. Where is Jay-Z? And also, what do you think can be done to correct course here? I don't really think that he can correct course here unless he comes out and somehow undoes what he did to basically stab Colin Kaepernick in the back.
Y'all give me slander and hope while I'm trying to get a title deal. So it's a couple things here. I'm almost 100% sure he didn't handpick the organization, right?
Absolutely.
I'm also on the other end of it. His efforts doesn't start with the funding of this, grant that this organization received, and it doesn't end there. The broader effort that's going on with reform, goes well beyond anything this particular organization can do. We're all involved in the orgs, and we all understand to a degree how organization funding works. It's all a relationship, and so somebody in this organization, had probably an in with somebody either on the NFL side or, one of the organizations that Jay-Z's affiliated with, and was able to grab funding here to potentially try to solve a problem. We've all dealt with principals at a very high level. Also, times a lot of things are delegated, but at the end of the day, the blow up typically blows up in the face of the principal. Jay-Z literally currently wears his hair near free. So, it's I think he probably has to address it at this point because of the stir-up that it's caused. But I agree with Amisha. It is a response to Black Twitter. Who sometimes can have a larger voice than they probably should. I think it's probably one of those things where we probably need to sit back and watch take a holistic view of what's going on, but two, see where the actual hard efforts are going. I would direct folks' attention to reform more so than what this particular organization does.
Well, that's the question, and that's the big question. What the hell is where's the reform? Where's the beef, Jay-Z? I don't see it here. And what's interesting to me is that, he came out. Honestly, I'm seeing a lot of inconsistencies because he came out with the press conference,
right,
saying that there's going to be reform.
Right.
Then, after that wasn't received well, there was some leak about him having part ownership in the team, which all of a sudden has evaporated, right? Apparently that was a lie. Okay, where's Maury Povich when you need him, right? Because I believe if that was the case, they would have announced that at the actual press conference.
Right.
That would have made sense.
Yeah.
And now this comes out, and I agree. I'm sure he didn't handpick it, but this tells me that there was no honest attempt to really be involved in creating social change. It was about him creating a partnership with the NFL for his own benefit.
David Chappelle was right when he said a long time ago, we need to stop looking at these celebrities as the thing that's going to correct stuff. Right?
I believe that.
This is a smarter celebrity. Jay-Z is a smarter celebrity, in my view, than most. But at the end of the day, he's a really good rapper. He's a really good lyricist. He's a really good rhythm guy.
And he's not the best, but he's all right.
Political scientist.
But he's the same. He's the same Jay-Z who blamed a lot of the community violence and a lot of the disengaged youth on Black fathers not being at home.
Oh God!
So I'm sorry, I'm not giving Jay-Z a pass here.
Yeah, I'm giving him not a pass
because that's ignorant, and it's also something that is a Republican talking point.
He's making a deal with a bunch of businessmen in the NFL. They want him to sit there
as
a Black person to be their person of color that they're sitting next to at a press conference.
Absolutely.
That's his role in that moment, whether he recognizes it or not. So I'm not looking for Jay-Z to be the person in this moment that is the guy that figures this out. They're not making a deal with Reverend Barber, right?
I agree with you, but I think
Reverend Barber, then I'd say, okay, then this is the place.
I think he fully recognizes it. I think we're not giving Jay-Z enough credit. I think he's a brilliant man. He recognizes it, and his pockets are getting full.
Absolutely.
He recognizes the business deal, but we're looking for more than that. And we should be.
Well, the thing is, Jay-Z said it himself. He says, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman, right? That's what he said. And so that is his priority with this. It's not about doing anything to advance the cause. And he was perfectly fine with throwing Colin under the bus. Well, where's the beef then, Eugene?
So
where's
the thing is this. Reform, organization reform, $50 million funded, largely money pulled, personally by Jay-Z and other folk. They're currently bailing people out of jail. They're currently,
That's not the NFL, Eugene. That existed prior. I'm not talking about that. I mean, it's very good that you brought that in, but that is completely irrelevant to this conversation. We're talking about the specific deal that he made with the NFL in order to undercut the movement that Colin Kaepernick started, and in order to justify their whiteballing of Colin Kaepernick. Where is the social justice action specifically in relation to his connection with the NFL?
A very big part of that deal provides a funding mechanism for organizations to actually go out and be effective with what they're doing.
Right, organizations like this that cut off people's hair, and maybe organizations that blame black women for raising children. Are those the types of organizations they're going to continue to select?
Absolutely not.
Well,
I mean, look. If we're taking a full holistic view of this, right?
Yeah.
You're taking a full holistic view of this. Looking at somebody who just had an organization funded to the tune of $50 million with Van Jones at the head of it.
Oh, that makes me feel a lot better.
We're dragging somebody over a mistake that we probably can't even actually attribute to them. You know, in regards to Colin Kaepernick, if Hov said there was a conversation with Colin, I'm probably on the side of Hov to say there probably was a conversation with Colin.
Yeah.
But if we're keeping it 100 here, you know, Colin Kaepernick probably needs to come out and say something himself.
What?
We've all been riding with him for a couple years now. You know, look, he got his cash and did what he did. Eric Reed got his cash and did what he did.
Excuse me. Is he not supposed to?
And the ball is still moving forward.
Well,
nobody said that, look, you know, there's one singular way to address this issue, or there's one singular path, or that Colin Kaepernick is the end-all, be-all in it.
Let me just say this, Eugene. Good luck with getting your title deal. But I will also say, because you're doing a great job for it right now, I hope they really compensate you well. But let me just also say here, is Colin Kaepernick supposed to take a vow of poverty once you have a group of owners colluding not to hire him anymore? Are we supposed to say that he's not supposed to make money any other way once you have seen that his main employers have colluded to not hire him anymore? I don't think that's the argument you're making, is it?
No, it's not the argument that I'm making. But the argument that I am making is, look, when Colin Kaepernick took a settlement in that particular case, which we all, you know, supported him from day one, that kind of closed the page on that chapter and said, okay, what's the next steps forward here? Next step forward need to look like Second Step Act, reforms, you know, more black DAs, more black state's attorneys, which a lot of things are coming out of the reform organization, which is entitled reform. Right. But there are a lot of things that they're supporting. What I'm saying is this: look, you know, there's an attempt to drag Jay-Z over a misstep or two and ignore the broader scope of things that he's done. I mean, look, he was when Freddie Gray happened. You know, he put up cash to get folk bailed out when judges were trying to hit people with $500,000 bail for breaking cop car windows.
Once again,
when Ferguson happened, he funded a lot of the folk getting bailed out. So it's not, you know, it's you know, one more time, I think this is something that's been largely blown up out of proportion in regards to the full scope of things.
Okay, I think we're having
somebody.
Eugene, thanks. We got to bring in the rest of the panel.
Legacy of work, and then take one blip on the timeline and drag them and disregard the whole everything else that they've done.
Is it just me, or are we conflating issues here?
You should get a check after that defense.
Yeah, you should get a check after that. That's his PR flack. I mean, give me a break, man. Sally Hazelgrove, who's cutting hair, has already apologized. Jay-Z has said nothing. You know what? Eugene, you just said more than Jay-Z. Why is that? Why can't the great communicator with all those albums, with all that rapping, now all of a sudden can't say anything about what's going on with Kaepernick and this thing with the hair cutting? Like, why is he suddenly silent? I mean, even if he just does it through his publicist, say something.
Right.
But you can't say nothing, not in this world of communications we live in.
Absolutely. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I felt that he should have said something immediately. We know that he didn't handpick these organizations, but there's something to be said about every single one in the city that was chosen being white-led. Every single one having a very similar agenda. So I'm sorry. Again, as a native Chicagoan, I took offense to it. We have several organizations in the city that are working very hard to help young black men and black women that could use the help, that didn't get anything. So I don't know how they went about choosing these, but there is a real gripe that people should have, because if you're someone someone who has the mantle that Jay-Z does, you should be a little bit more intuitive, and the people who you decide to give money to or who your organization decides to give money to, if you're the NFL, you should be more intuitive about where this ends up going. What Jay-Z did was essentially help to close a chapter on a lot of the abuses that we've seen in the NFL organization, specifically as it came to them basically shutting the door on anything that had to do with people protesting police brutality, which is a fundamental right.
You know, now that I think about it, whether he knew or vetted them or did not vet them does not matter to me now, because now everybody knows there's a problem, right? So you can comment anyway, right? It's like, where is he? Like in this moment, like, where is he?
Where are you?
You got to
Jay-Z?
manage a project, you know.
Where are you, Jay-Z? He's someplace. I don't somewhere. And Lord, please, just all I'm asking is just don't bring Beyonce down with you. Okay, that's my only help. That's my only hope, because I want to be able to go to her concerts in the future. All right.
All right, folks, let's talk about, again, what it means when we own our stuff. Yesterday, of course, marked the first anniversary of Roland Martin Unfiltered. And it's been a really interesting day because, you know, all these ADOS people, people who ain't got no damn sense. So Angela Rye sent a tweet out congratulating us on the show, and all these trolls came out the woodworks questioning our numbers, saying, oh, these numbers are lying, how can you prove it? And I said, well, first of all, y'all must be pretty dumb, because if you go to YouTube or Facebook or Periscope, the number is right there in the bottom left-hand corner.
They can't reroll.
Now just get a damn calculator and add it all up. But you probably want to do that. And so for the folks who missed this, and people, we don't really talk a lot about our podcast, but we actually take this show, we have an audio podcast. Here we go to my iPad. So in the course of a year, we had 455,928 plays of our podcast on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, as well as TuneIn. Now, this was the total number when it came to our actual video views, 100.7, 100,730,126. Now, the minutes viewed of this show, 434,989,797. Now, people told me there was no way in the world we could make this thing happen. It couldn't get done. Oh my God, what are you doing? There's no way you can make money, when in fact, we actually generated more than $700,000 in revenue the first year of this show. Now, why am I saying all of that? Because the reality is we have to learn what it means to monetize our culture. I told y'all when I was watching the Sam Cooke documentary on Netflix, and you saw the story about how his manager pretty just stole his music rights from underneath him, put the company in his name where essentially Sam Cooke was working for him. Okay. We can show you numerous black musicians who lost their publishing rights because it was stolen by white managers and accountants and business managers. If you read Luther Campbell's book, you will understand how his music company was stolen from him by a white executive who he hired, who used the bankruptcy laws to steal his company out from underneath him. We're talking about the history of black folks as well when it came to owning land. I can go down the line describing all of these different things. But here we have a situation now in America where everything black folks touch is gold. We change the view of hair and clothes and style and music, yet for a lot of us, we're giving it away. I'm gonna go back to Luther Campbell. If you read his book, he describes this scene, he had a concert, and then when the concert was over, he was sitting there counting all his money. And one of the rappers from New York said, man, what are you doing? He said, I'm counting my paper. See, they had signed deals, licensing deals for somebody else to handle their merchandise for $2,500 and $3,000. Luke figured out, I could sell my own shit and get paid direct. He was making $25,000, $30,000 per show selling his own merchandise. That's called monetizing your own culture. Last year, the Global Hope Forum in Atlanta, there was a panel featuring several entertainers, including John Bryant, the founder and CEO of Operation Hope. And this is what T.I. had to say about this subject of monetizing our culture.
There's a lot to be said, you know, to your point. Hip-hop transcends culture, religion, age. It's truly diverse, and it's the #1 genre like in the world. Hip hop is the most influential genre in the world. It brings in more profits than any other, than country music, rock and roll, R&B. Like hip hop is the thing that brought the world together. If you can't agree on anything else, you can agree that, you know, when 50 Cent in the club come on, you know, y'all, everybody dancing together. We can be arguing and we ain't gonna agree on the same football team, basketball team, but when Nothing But a G Thing, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg come on, everybody, you know what I'm saying? So hip hop has brought the world together, and I think that because we are artists and we operate from the most artist-driven part of the brain, that kind of, it gives us a different capacity when it comes to our financial planning, because a lot of us take much more significant risks because of our belief in our art. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you have people like, for instance, Kanye. You know, Kanye, they said that he was, you know, in a place of financial discrepancy, but what he did was, that's because he chose to put all of his money into his art. All of his money, he said, if I'm gonna bet on anything, I'm gonna bet on me. I can't convince them to see what I see. I can't convince you to see what I see, but I know what my art can do. I know what my work can do. So even though it's unconventional, even though it may come at some just highly disagreed upon opinions, I'm still going to do this and believe in belief of myself. And now we see what Kanye is because of that mentality. Now there are a lot of other people who ain't exactly Kanye who did the same thing and they didn't come out so well. But
and that he later talked about, again, how do you monetize our culture? And the reason that sort of resonated, because see, when I had my TV One News One Now show, I was actually buying my own equipment. In fact, after my first job in the business, I never wanted to be in a situation where the company owned the equipment, so if I left or I got fired, then I'm sort of stuck out. So I always bought my own stuff, had my own cameras, had my own printers. I remember when I left the Dallas Weekly, they were like, what the hell happened? Because they were like, oh, that computer, the printer, and the camera, Roland owned all of that. So that was the same view. And so when News One Now ended, the reason why I wasn't sweating this whole thing, because I had actually bought my own cameras, my own switcher. I had my whole infrastructure where I could keep doing my thing without TV One, because I own stuff they didn't own. Some of y'all gonna get that. Why is that important? Because it's called betting on yourself. So I would dare say, before we launched this show, I may have spent probably $200,000 on my own equipment. Greg Carr, why this is important is because the part of the problem I think that we get into, which is one of the issues that we have, we talk about how do we create wealth, is that we still operate by this whole notion of white validation, that it's not a real show unless it's on MSNBC or CNN or one of the different networks, when in fact, you look at this product, it can compete with any of those different folks as well. I had somebody tell me, man, why, you know, you didn't wear T-shirt and shorts when you were at TV One. Why you wearing it now? Because I own this shit.
And they need to be buying that shirt.
But here's the piece though. But but see, let me see again though. Somebody said, why you wearing T-shirts and shorts? But y'all don't ask Mark Zuckerberg why he wear a hoodie and T-shirts.
How about that? Or Bill Gates. That's right.
See,
that's right.
Again, but and the point here is, people were like, well, why don't you take this somewhere else? Why? And I'm telling you, and like last night, I was watching the Motown documentary on Showtime. And while I'm watching it, my thought is going, did black folks make the documentary?
Oh.
Did our company make it? See. And so what I'm trying to get us is everybody wants our stuff. We have to accept the reality that we can make the documentary, we can make the show.
That's right.
Just like they can.
That's right. You know, Roland, it's fascinating you say it again, but you're always thinking like that. You're saying who owns it, whether it's intellectual capital. We just heard from Cassandra Newby Xander. She's at a black institution. You're conscious in putting institutions. Individuals cannot defeat institutions. And when you say that we need to think that way, not only are you absolutely correct, let's tie it to the segment that you've now established every week, the 1619 segment. In the years immediately following the Civil War, in fact, beginning during the Civil War, after the first Confiscation Act, in the Sea Islands, the same ones that are getting slammed now by the hurricane, Africans, through Rufus Saxton and General Sherman and them, this whole 40 acres and a mule business, took over the plantations that they had been forced to work as enslaved people, and began, the first thing they did was say, no more cotton. So they broke all the cotton gins. Then they planted tomatoes, potatoes, corn for sustenance crop.
Okra.
Then, yeah, okra, absolutely. Then the Civil War generals said, and Lincoln tried to rescind this, but Saxton kept going. They said, look, in order to break the South, we're going to deprive them of the profit from that crop. Let those Africans stay on the land. My point is, they then began to develop parcels of land, and then when they sold the land to white speculators, some of these black folks had figured out a way to monetize that crop to get enough money to buy some of that land. And they parlayed that into land that is still in the hands of some black families on the Sea Islands and in Georgia and Florida. I'm saying all that to say this. What you're talking about, what T.I. is talking about, what I see Nick Cannon do, Nick is at Howard now. I watch this cat. If you want to do business with Nick Cannon, he's like you. You got to contract with him. He's not going to work for you. What I see y'all doing, what this show represents, is not us doing something new. It's a return to the thing that we always did. In some kind of way, we got our heads twisted around during integration.
Julian, last night, the last 2 nights, I was on this text message, and it was a sister who, not from here, but who relates with black culture. And I was walking her through all this history. And I said, what I'm doing is what Robert Abbott did with the Chicago Defender.
Yes.
Right. I said what A.I. Scott did with the Atlanta Daily World. What Ida B. Wells Barnett did, Frederick Douglass. I said William Monroe Trotter. We can go down the whole line. I said, because the key is this. I said, if we did not have those black institutions that were black owned, Abbott didn't give a damn what the Colonel was doing what McCormick was doing with the Chicago Tribune. He didn't care. But the difference is this here. Black folks bought the Defender.
That's right.
Black folks said, we have to pay for that. So they had the ability to send staffers around the world because black folks funded it. What happens now, which is just grating to me, is that we have people who say they want black ownership, but then they want white advertisers or white media companies or other folks to foot the bill and say, why can't we get it for free? And that, to me, is the danger, because then whoever pays the piper is the one who controls the product.
The free press it's not free unless you paid for it. I mean, I admire what you've done, Roland. I think it's really important. And I think it's important in the historical context. Let's look at 1880, when black wealth to white wealth, the ratio was 1 black dollar for 36 white dollars. By 1910, it had dropped to 1 black dollar for 16 white dollars. In other words, black people post enslavement were making economic progress. That's a period in which Ida B. Wells was able to fund her newspaper.
That's right.
The period in which Trotter and all those were able to fund their newspaper. All black people were not on the same page. You saw a lot of tension. With
Martin Delaney, all of them, they disagreed.
But they all believed, and you can go back to 1836, where it said, let us plead our own cause. And that was the bottom line. So now, every lottie-dottie, everybody wants to be on the air. Me too, but just saying. But the fact of the matter is, you will be censored if you're on the majority press.
No question.
There will be some things you cannot say. I did something very recently. They said, we need you to go light. I don't know what Malvo light is. But it's like, we need you to
Other than light skin, that's about it.
Stop it.
What? Hold up. Method Man could be watching. Remember he said, Remember he said, he said, who's the older red bone with the red hair?
Don't light up Johnny Blaze tonight.
But the point is that majority press has a narrative.
Yeah.
Even Nicole Hannah-Jones with the 1619 in the New York Times, you saw the splashback they got from that. How dare they try to rewrite the narrative? Well, we are not rewriting the narrative. We are writing the narrative. And so I think it's really important for us to understand that black people had economic agency absent the 40 acres and a mule.
That's right.
Until evil white people started passing laws to take our stuff away from us.
Very true.
Lynching was
Right.
not about raping white women. Lynching was about economic envy.
That's
the
right.
first lynching that Ida B. Wells documented was because a black man opened up a grocery store
Right.
across the street from a white man.
That's right. It's called the
and all the
People's
black
Grocery.
people, all the
People's
black
Grocery.
people started going there.
That's right.
Then two little boys got into a fight over some marbles, which was their excuse. They always had an excuse. So they go shoot up the black people's grocery store over some boys having a fight over marbles, and then lynched 3 black men, one of whom was Ida B. Wells' godchild's dad, and one of the first black postmen, which was a serious job for black people at that time. So when I've been studying this stuff, which is driving me nuts. That's why I'm already crazy, and it got crazier. Because when you start reading about lynchings, you just go like,
Yeah. Makes you sane.
but like lynching black men because they own cars, lynching people because they had businesses. Now, I mean, not the little petty stuff about lynching people because they didn't cross the street, but because you own shit. Excuse my language. In Florida, brother owned 40 acres of orange grove,
Right.
lynched. And so let's just be clear about why this lynching occurred and why African-American economic accumulation is so threatening to predatory capitalism.
So Cleo, when you look at Chance the Rapper, reads his record, reads his contract, and realizes that if he gives him a mixtape, he then is done with the recording contract, and then he then goes out and says, fine, I can now just do distribution deals. That's exactly what Prince told them 20 years previously when he said, stop being a slave to the record labels. When you saw people who realized that, wait a minute, okay, no, I'm gonna write my own music because Smokey Robinson getting paid like crazy. I was talking to Frankie Beverly at the Cincinnati Music Festival, and in essence, people said, Frankie, you mad at Beyonce? She did Before I Let Go. He said, hell no. Do you know how much money she's made me?
No
Because I own the publishing.
No question.
And so what T.I. is talking about is what we create, what we develop. We should be not getting a licensing deal. No, I want the whole piece. I'm not trying to sit here and play this game, but a lot of this still is this notion of white validation. Oh, in their eyes, oh, I'm seen as big, and I'm like, that's great, but guess what? You might have a show on those networks, but you ain't controlling and owning that show.
That's right. I'm glad you mentioned Prince because one reason I was so heartbroken when he died, because he was literally one of the most powerful black artists that ever lived. He owned everything, and he finally got Purple Rain back, and that's why people were skeptical about him dying right after, because he finally became the owner of his most greatest work. But I also heard, and this is relevant, that you're going to be doing work around deprogramming. You're going to do some deprogramming.
You know we're going to do that.
Okay, because we need to do that. Because back in the day, when people were supporting the Defender and when IDB was around, we were less confused. Yeah. We were more clear. There were no arguments about white evil.
Right.
It was like, when is it going to happen next? Right now, there's arguments among black people about white evil. When you have conversations about black people, supporting black people, somebody will say, well, all white people aren't bad. Nobody said they were. Why are you coming to an abstract white rescue project that's not relevant to the direct conversation? Because we've been trained to look at them as
we don't look at structure. Structure.
But even when black people have structure, for example,
no, economic structure, political structure, we don't look at the structure. Forgive me for interrupting you, but it's, when people say, oh, all white people aren't evil, I didn't say all white people are evil. I say that the structure of predatory capitalism, which supports white supremacy. That's what's evil.
And that's important, but I want us to understand that we need to purge that impulse to run to the rescue of white folks. It's an unconscious training that comes out of a lot of things, including the mythological white Jesus. And some of the stuff that Roland has heard about, why you doing this, why you doing that, when other white folks are doing the same thing, but why you doing it has to do with...
And in fact, let me help you out. So somebody asked me, they said, man, y'all did great numbers. I said, let me be clear. We didn't buy a single ad. We didn't do a single boost. But here's the other piece. Not one media outlet would do a story on me launching my own show. Now, I look at these media sites. I look at all of them. TV Newser, Mediaite, Multi-Channel. Look at all of them. And I see stories on this white boy who launched a YouTube show or this white woman who's over here doing something. I see all these stories. And my publicist literally, in the first 4 months of this show, could not get a story done.
Why not?
I said, oh, because one, their own bias. Then it's also who he think he is.
Exactly.
And that's why I said, baby, don't worry about it.
Exactly.
We just gonna do the work.
Exactly.
And let's be clear, there were black outlets.
Oh, please.
Yes.
Who would not do stuff. And I said, don't worry about it. I said, because we gonna show the concept works. Now people are going, now that's why I laugh, and the reason I keep smacking these ADOS people, because literally they've been on my timeline all day. Check the numbers. And I'm like, get a calculator. I'm like, if y'all want to have this debate.
But them people can't count.
No, but again, though, the reason I talk about the whole deprogramming deal, I said, how can y'all be about black liberation and black freedom and black consciousness? I said, but I'm doing what y'all say. And I love this one here. They were like, well, you old black media. I said, well, my numbers are better than your new black media. Because what they can't stand is that when you're unbought and unbossed, you're even that way with some black people.
And that's why black people need to understand that we need to be deprogrammed. We should be excited about what Roland's doing. We should be glad he had 3 numbers, let alone 3 million numbers. Right. We should be glad he exists.
We had 100 points.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. He has 100 points.
100.7
The bottom line
million.
is that why we even, this is not a rhetorical question. The question is why we even hating and saying, well, he don't got no numbers. That's anti-black. I don't care how many Pan-African outfits you got and how many
Because here's the deal. Here's the deal, Cleo.
If you're trying to throw doubt into what he's doing, it's anti-black.
But here's the deal. Hold on. But here's the deal, though. There are people who hate on me, and I've said to them, go do you.
Right.
Do your show.
Right.
Radio, I said, I ain't got to watch you. I said, but do you. I said, I ain't dogging you. Knock yourself out. Because my deal is, if you're talking to a segment and you're serving them, that's great. That's fine. But what I'm not going to do, though, is I'm not going to let folks try to denigrate something because, again, the larger picture is, like that was at one point in the late 1800s, literally there were 10,000 black newspapers.
Yes, sir.
That was started in a 30-year period.
That's right.
Between 1850 and 1900.
That's right.
10,000.
Because we believed in controlling our own information. And so,
But we didn't believe we were God, though.
Well, my
that was the problem. We didn't believe we were God.
Everybody brown ain't down. So, these ADOS folks.
But here's the deal, though. But again, though, I don't mind them doing what they do. Go right ahead. Because I ain't dogging you. Knock yourself out. But what I'm trying to get our people to understand is that, so it's all, because another thing is this here, which T.I. also deals with, because musicians have done this, how they collaborate. I've said it. Every major black media company, I went to them before we launched this show.
Right.
Nobody wants to do anything.
Right.
I talked to folks since we launched it. Nobody wants to do anything. And I'm looking at them going, y'all ain't got nothing like what we're doing.
But they can't do what.
Which is why vision.
They're not free. They're not free. The issue is
but we need to learn to understand that. Let me tell you something. Rupert Murdoch sold his Fox Entertainment interest to Disney for I think it was like $70 billion. See, they ain't got no problem. Look, Bob Iger is a big-time Democrat.
Sure.
Rupert Murdoch is a big-time conservative. But guess what? When Obama was in there, Murdoch was kissing up to Obama.
No question.
For them, it's about money. And what I'm trying to get black folks to understand is we are 24 years away from America being the nation, majority of people of color.
Right.
We are seeing black people, black ad agencies going extinct. You know why? Because what used to be black dollars became multicultural dollars. Yep. And the white ad agencies had no problem. They're like, okay, you know what? Y'all can handle the multicultural dollars, but here's the problem. It used to be mainstream. Let me help y'all out. Let me walk y'all through. It was black, multicultural, mainstream, which means white.
And that's
hold on. Let me explain it.
Yes, sir.
Black, multicultural, mainstream, which means white. There were 3 buckets. black got merged with multicultural. So then it was multicultural dollars and mainstream, which is white. Here's what happened. Demographics change. What was multicultural is now mainstream.
That's right.
So now the mainstream firms, okay, so when the let me see, help out loud. Let me go back. Black, multicultural, mainstream, which is white. Multicultural increases, moves out black people. So now black people are now fighting Latinos and others for the same crumbs. Mainstream is sitting here saying, okay, y'all can have, that's crumbs to us. Demographics change. Guess what? Black and Latino now getting frozen out because mainstream said, we're going to gobble up what y'all got because, see, what y'all got is going to overtake ours one day.
Right.
So what's the problem? Again, let me unpack it. The black folks who worked for agencies and the black people who worked in corporate America knew the black ad agencies. The black ad agencies knew the black media people. They understood what we can do and our power and leverage. The problem you have right now, white control ad agencies, most of them European, they pretty much bought up all of them. They don't know black people. They don't know me. They don't know that black newspaper. They don't know Tom Joyner. They just look at metrics and numbers. So the problem is your black ad agencies are now withering on the vine. What does that mean? If your black ad agencies wither on the vine, black media is not going to be withering on the vine.
Right.
Unless folks see the larger picture and say, no, we have to sound the alarm because this is the game they're playing, folks, because I want y'all to hear me. What they're saying is we don't need to buy Roland's show or Tom Joyner or Harvey or Ricky Smiley or Essence or Ebony or Black Enterprise because they also watch TNT.
Right.
And TBS and ABC.
That's right.
So we can get them
That's right.
by giving the money to ABC.
That's right.
Even though we know black people watch both, but watch one totally differently than the other.
That's right.
So we don't understand the game. What's going to happen is, because I need y'all to hear me, what's going to happen is we're going to wake up one day and realize the black media outlets have gone away because if 2 buckets of revenue don't exist, they're dead. Subscriptions and advertising.
That's right.
If they take the advertising and we don't subscribe, there will be no show.
That's right.
Or radio show. Or TV show.
That's right.
Or digital show. Or magazine. Or newspaper. Which now means we're left to ask somebody else, can you please cover our story?
That's right.
Can you please put on different voices? And that means we're going to have numerical numbers, a demographic shift, and asking somebody else, can you please cover us, Greg?
I was going to say, Roland, this ties to everything we've been talking about from the beginning of this show to now. Again, 1861, 1862, the Contraband Acts. South Carolina and in Mississippi, you see blacks take these plantations and move over. When these white boys collaborated, and Dr. Malveaux, Julian, you said it perfectly, predatory capitalism. When they opened up the Sea Islands for investors, the Northerners came down to buy up all the land. The blacks who had saved enough money to do this, let's call them the subscribers in land to make the parallel. They were able to buy a little bit of land, but here's where it came in. The plantations that were bought up, what the northern white boys did was say this: we want to own the land, but we will hire you to stay down here and work the land. In fact, we'll pay you to work the land. So what's the parallel? You're describing an era when they can't get around black content, but they want to own the black. They want us to work on these media plantations.
Which is why I call it, in politics, political sharecropping.
Absolutely.
And this is called media sharecropping.
Media sharecropping.
So like when I was on CNN, I literally had a major executive tell me when I launched my ascot and bow tie line and I had my other stuff, he said, y'all, this was a quote. Now, you know if you were full-time here, you couldn't be doing all that stuff.
Exactly.
And this is what I said. And that's why I'll never be full-time here.
Right.
Because my multiple revenue streams is what gave me the freedom to say what I wanted to say on air.
That's right.
Because they did not control all my money.
That's right.
Final comment. Final comment.
The issue is control. The issue is really about control, and we can look through history and talk about control. And the challenging thing right now is that there's so many stories, Roland, that you bring to the air, like the crazy-ass white people, but other stories, which we don't see elsewhere, which in terms of all kinds of things we don't see elsewhere. We need to know about what's going on in our nation around the exploitation of black people, and the New York Times ain't gonna cover it.
See my shirt?
Yes, value black people.
That's the bottom line.
First, I'll put your hands down so they can see the shirt.
That's,
You're like, see my shirt?
No problem.
We can't really see the shirt.
I
but
was-
cover it up.
I was going to remove an ultimately.
I got you.
I'm gonna wear a T-shirt.
The bottom line is that black people need to unlearn the myth of white supremacy, purge from that myth, and learn to value black people at all costs.
Yeah.
That's what because, as I said earlier, and this is relevant to everything that we've been talking about, including you even getting more subscribers, which you deserve to get, is that we question it if it's black. We question its relevance. We question whether it has value. When Robert Johnson sold BET to become the CEO, remember that?
Right.
He sold it, and they let him stay there.
Rich sharecropper is still a sharecropper.
Exactly. Some black people thought, ooh, because now he know he gonna get paid. It's
Right.
like,
Hold up. But for those black people, he actually got paid in the sale. And but see, even with that, because and I get, we think differently when it's like I understand the power of media, but here's what I also explain to people. Okay. BET got sold for $3.3 billion. John Malone got 1/3 of that. Bob and Sheila Johnson got that. Bob and Sheila Johnson through BET created more black millionaires than any other black company in history.
Yes, they did.
Second, by selling the company, they now actually employ more people through the company, the multiple companies they own than just BET. Now, I totally understand the value of media. What I also want, and we'll do this deconstruction a whole nother day, walking black people through what selling also means when you take that capital and now can do other things.
That's good.
So I'm gonna do that another day.
But let me finish this point.
So I'm gonna do another day. But finish your point.
Okay.
But I gotta deconstruct this Kevin Hart, Lil Nas X. Go ahead.
But there's a difference between system success and black cultural success.
Oh, I got you. I understand.
Yeah.
There's a difference because if you become a bunch of neutral black millionaires instead of black people who do what Jews do and Asians do to make sure they're supporting legacy and building black people and building more cultural legacy of self-love and self-respect so the rest of the children can love themselves, that's different than...
Which hold up.
I'm almost finished.
Real quick, like I really gotta go next up, but go real quick.
But people interrupt me, then I can't finish.
Come on.
When Bob had that station, they had news. They were what I call trans-breaking, black-focused news shows with, I forgot the name.
I got it. I got Lead Story.
They got rid of all of that.
All that Teen Summer,
and it's still gone. You have been the only consistent news source that had syndication in the country. They got rid of
Right, because his whole deal was entertainment is more important than news. He said it. It's always interesting when people have Labor Day off. They actually forget how Labor Day even came about. It didn't just sort of happen. And some interesting news in terms of where we are in this country. For the first time in more than 50 years, Americans at the highest number in terms of approval of labor unions. According to Gallup poll, their polls show that 64% of Americans approve of labor unions, surpassing 60% for the third consecutive year and up 16 percentage points from its 2009 low point. That is the highest union approval rating Gallup has recorded over the past 50 years. What does this all mean heading into this election? Joining us right now is AFS-CME President Lee Saunders. Lee, glad to have you back on the show. One of the partners here, Roland Martin Unfiltered. We certainly appreciate that. This was a surprise to a lot of people, highest in 50 years.
I don't think it's a surprise to those that are working in the vineyard every day who are trying to organize and educate and mobilize and our communities across the country. People are fed up and they're angry and they're frustrated. And they see that there is an inequality that exists, an economic inequality that exists all over the country. And the economic system is rigged. It's rigged towards those that have a lot of money. It's rigged toward those that have a lot of power and wealth, and they want more power and wealth at the expense of working people. And working people are saying, hold up, wait a minute here. I mean, we have to have a seat at the table. And that's why you see what's happening, where people are saying labor unions are the counterforce, are the balance with all of this power and greed that's taking place in this country right now. I would say to you this, Roland, if you're talking to an elected official, 64%, they'd be real happy with 64%. We're happy with 64%, but we want to continue to grow. We want to continue to organize all across the country.
The reason why I would say folks are surprised is because we literally have seen for the last 20, 25 years, and I would say it goes to the election of Ronald Reagan in 1980, this constant assault, demeaning and degrading of unions. You had folks like, oh no, right to work states. You had all these sort of different, then of course you had the Janus decision by the Supreme Court. But now all of a sudden you're seeing folks who are saying, even people who were union critics years ago who went, wait a minute, hold up. They now are seeing the reality of the decimation of the middle class. They're seeing the impact on low-wage workers. They're now seeing that because America was the nation was told, oh no, allow the free enterprise to do what it does, and then that would, rising tide will lift all boats. Now people are saying, that didn't work.
Well, trickle-down economics doesn't work, and we see it every single day where the wealthy have more wealth at the expense of working people. That gap is the largest that it has ever been in American history. And people understand that working families need a seat at the table. And the way you get the seat at the table is to join a union. 50% of Americans, if they had the opportunity, are saying that they would join a union to improve their wages, benefits, and working conditions, because they understand the effectiveness of working together and coming together as one to deal with the issues that confront our communities every single day.
We discussed this a couple of times previously. But do you also think that the attacks on unions and the election of Trump forced unions, not just your union, but in terms of the union lobby across the country, to go, you know what, we better start telling our own story, because we discussed it before. The biggest criticism that I've had is that labor unions allowed themselves to be defined by their opponents and did not have an effective narrative to counter their critics.
We had to get back to basics. The labor movement had to get back to basics. One of the ways in which we get back to basics is to talk with our members, talk to our potential members, have a discussion with them, listen to what they've got to say, and then promote the kinds of activities. Promote the kinds of good things that unions do all across the country, having a seat at the table, being able to not only improve the lives of our members, but improve the lives of their families and folks living in their communities all across the country. Explain and talk about that narrative and say that that seat is being taken away from you. It's being taken away from you to make you and your families and your communities weaker, and we can't stand for it. People are coming together. This is a movement moment, and you've heard me say this before, where folks from all walks of life are coming together saying, whoa, enough is enough. This is unfair, the economy is rigged, and we've got to do something about it to fix it.
Yesterday, Trump, instead of focusing on hurricanes, he was, and also between him playing golf, decided to attack the head of the AFL-CIO, complaining, saying union dues are way too high. And so what do you make of, again, on Labor Day, Trump playing golf, attacking unions, the folks who actually created Labor Day?
We've got to concentrate on what we do best, and that is organizing and educating and mobilizing our members and our communities across the country. We are preparing, just as we did in 2018, and we had major victories in 2018, electoral victories. We're preparing for 2019 and 2020. We're going to be putting boots on the ground. Our folks will be familiar with what's going on. They're going to be educated about what's happening to working families across this country, and we're going to have a massive campaign in education, but also getting people out to vote. Very, very important.
What are your trade union folks saying in places like Ohio, where Hillary Clinton lost by 450,000 votes. A ton of union people supported Trump because of his criticism of NAFTA. We saw the exact same thing. A lot of union workers who voted for Obama in 2008, 2012, who chose to vote for Trump in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. What conversations are being had? What are they saying that they're going to do? Those auto workers. Trump talked about bringing it back, but that hasn't happened. Steel workers, he claims they're building new steel mills. They're not. And so what discussions are being had with those union leaders to say, how are you going to go directly to your people and say, you voted against your own interest in the last election?
What's the reality now? One thing that we have now that we didn't have in 2015 and 2016 was Trump now has a track record. He made a lot of promises to working people. A lot of folks fell for those promises. But now, you've got a track record. He has a track record. You go to Lordstown, right outside of Youngstown in Ohio, and you talk to those workers about the promises that he made in keeping that plant open. And if you recall, he made the statement, don't sell your homes because you're going to be just fine. The plant closed. You can replicate that story in state after state after state. Promises broken. We've got to educate our folks and working families saying he promised a lot, but he didn't deliver on anything. And that's exactly what we're going to do.
Also, in this way, tomorrow is our first anniversary of this show. And in the course, we ran the numbers. So in the last year, we've done about 70 million views across all three platforms, increased our YouTube channel by more than 200,000. And so we certainly appreciate AFSCME being one of our founding partners in helping us do this because part of the piece is also being able to have communication apparatus and supporting media that understands these issues, that speaks to our people.
You're getting a message out, a very, very important message out to our community. People need to hear it, and we're going to continue to support you. So, in fact, that message continues to get out there, and we do what we must do to change this country and move this country forward.
Because 2020 is going to be critical, and the concern that I have is that we saw it in 2016. Your mainstream media outlets showing empty podiums of Trump and whatever kind of crazy thing that he said, but not hearing from and speaking to the very people who are most impacted by this public policy.
I think that you have a message machine, Roland, I really do, and we've got to target our communities to impress upon them the importance of this election and the issues that impact on them and what could happen if we continue down this direction. So we support what you're doing. I think that you've got to go into these communities in every city, okay, and sit down and talk with young black men, okay, with older black men. Talk to communities of color and explain to them and talk to them and listen to them about the issues that are confronting them every single day, and then draw a conclusion and bring them together saying the only way that you can deal with this is collectively coming together and making your voices heard. One of the ways you make your voices heard is to get out there, register to vote, but also to vote. We have this opportunity. That's why it is a movement moment, and you have a key place in moving that message with the people who listen to you, just as unions have a key place in moving that message, okay? And putting boots on the ground and educating folks so we understand what's at stake next year.
Well, we're definitely going to do that, just like we were in Memphis in last year, MLK 50, and then, of course, 2017. And then we are definitely going to be, in terms of pushing, going to those places, because I think we also have to connect the dots. And we talked the same thing about before. A lot of people don't understand in terms of what happens with this particular race, how it impacts something way over here. We're going to discuss in a moment what happened in North Carolina, where 3 judges have now ruled that they're a complete redrawing of all districts in North Carolina because of political gerrymandering. How that, and the work of Reverend Barber and others to change the state Supreme Court. So now if they appeal the decision, you now have a democratically controlled state Supreme Court who's more likely going to rule in favor, keep that court ruling. So people who only think about D.C. have to understand that when you talk about mobilizing and organizing, it impacts these state races and local races.
Well, and let me say this, and that's our neighborhood. That's where our folks live. their families live, our communities. Those down ballot races are just as important as the races that are taking place nationally and here, congressionally, Senate-wise. Those down ballot races are just as important as a presidential race. Okay, you've got to elect a friendly governor. You've got to elect a friendly state legislature who believes in supporting working families.
And courts.
Supporting our communities. And courts, the appointment in those courts, well, you can elect in some state Supreme Courts. But that's one thing that people don't think about.
Republicans do.
Look what they do. Look what Trump has been able to do with his friends on Capitol Hill as far as appointing justices, okay? Appointing judges in states that are going to be there for a long time, who are going to be carrying their philosophy. That should scare everybody. And that should at least tell us that we've got to organize ourselves to combat that kind of activity, because the kinds of decisions they're going to be making are going to impact on us for years and years and years.
We're certainly looking forward over the next year. Your commentary is right here on the show, and also, of course, our American Worker segment, which we also get some great stories that you guys have done with AFSCME about folks out there doing stuff on the ground. So it's been good to feature those individuals and showing other folks what they're doing and the great work that they're doing.
They're the everyday heroes in public service.
Absolutely. Lee Saunders, we appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, brother.
The mean green machine of AFSCME is on a roll. Earlier this month, the governor of Nevada signed a bill empowering 20,000 state employees with collective bargaining rights. They now have a seat at the table to negotiate for a fair return on their work, for safer working conditions, and more. This is the biggest expansion of collective bargaining rights for state employees in any state since 2003. And it comes on the heels of a similar win for Delaware state workers, improving their ability to bargain for better wages. In Illinois, AFSCME members endured a 4-year reign of terror under former Governor Bruce Rauner. Rauner wouldn't even come to the table with us. But now, with the new pro-worker governor in office, we have a tentative contract that honors the contributions state employees make to their communities. State employees in Pennsylvania have reached a 4-year tentative agreement with the Commonwealth. Members are currently voting on ratification, and preliminary results are very positive. We're also seeing progress on the federal level. The Public Service Freedom to Negotiate Act was just introduced in the U.S. House of Representatives. This bill gives public employees rights and protections enjoyed by those in the private sector. It requires public employers to recognize unions when a majority of employees want one, to bargain over wages, hours, and terms of employment, to provide access to a dispute resolution mechanism, and to allow union members to voluntarily deduct union dues from their paycheck. It was exactly a year ago that the Supreme Court issued its decision in Janus versus AFSCME. A lot of so-called experts thought we couldn't bounce back. They thought Janus would be a knockout blow. They thought wrong. Instead, we're growing, surging, and winning. Now, we need to build on the momentum. Call your member of Congress at this number and tell them to co-sponsor the Public Service Freedom to Negotiate Act. Tell them to unrig the economy by giving working people the power to take collective action through a strong union. Tell them to give working people the voice on the job they need and the basic respect they deserve.
I was on this conversation late last night and, with someone who's in media, but this is not what this it sort of fell into. And I was trying to explain to her the power of media. First off, media is America's greatest export in terms of our movies, in terms of television shows, in terms of music. News. And how the world looks at this country is defined by what is being exported out. And I tell people all the time, the reason I, like when I go after certain people who say stupid stuff on television, is because I understand the power of words and images and how they can completely frame a conversation. And I think what we are seeing now with the internet, what we're seeing now with streaming services, the gatekeepers who control this before, frankly, they're going crazy because they no longer can contain it. They no longer, whether it's a movie, whether it's music, whether it's shows like this, it used to be they decided who got shows. They decided who were guests on shows. They decided what the news was. Game has changed.
Well, I think that with those different mediums comes a huge demand for content. And the content is what they can't control anymore. I get questions all the time in regard to this show. I've seen you on Roland Martin. I'm Phil. Why is he doing that? You said that earlier. I get that too as a regular guest. And I said, listen, you know, he controls his content. He controls the time, place. He gets the guests, so he controls all of that. Why not? He gets sponsors too, if you will. And so instead of trying to be in mainstream network, you've done that already, right? But you've also created a platform for black voices, whether they're lawyers, whether they're political commentators. You can look across the board and see who's on main networks and cable and who still come here, but they started off here and did a lot of work with you in black media. And I hate that term, black media, because all media is media. But I think the fact that the internet and these social media platforms has helped our people, our communities a great deal. And so you can't be controlled anymore unless you just want to be, which is if you want to wait for a deal with ABC or NBC or CNN, you could certainly do that and work that. But you got to be picked. And the odds of you being picked versus you doing your own show or doing your own commentary or blogging, and it can get out there worldwide, is very real. So why wait?
Monique, you look at Justin Bieber. I saw the story the other day. I mean, he didn't wait for a record deal. He was a YouTube sensation. And all of a sudden, somebody's like, okay, we got to sign him. And that again, to me, is what is amazing, because I think one of the things that has been very interesting over the last year, I really love jacking with the haters. Because, see, I've had people who say, oh, that's nothing. We saw this video that you had on YouTube and it had 200 views. I'm like, well, you do know we live stream the one show 8 times. And so I don't care about the one video. And then people, of course, were hating, saying, oh, well, your number's not real. I said, see, here's the beauty of YouTube, Periscope, and Facebook. The number is right there. Like it says in the left-hand corner, 8.4K views or 20,000 views or 200,000 views. I said, get a calculator. And so my deal is, if you want to dispute the numbers, feel free to go back and count yourself. And the thing is, trying to get them to understand, stop living by white validation. That somehow you're validated because you're on a network. Just like I've told people, you're not validated as an author if you sign a deal with HarperCollins. The moment you got a book and they got an ISBN number, your ass an author. If somebody pay you for your book, you an author. But so many people live by this need to be validated by somebody else that they, frankly, are allowing their talents to go wasted.
Yeah, and first of all, congratulations, Roland, on your 1-year anniversary. I mean, I personally, just in watching the trajectory and the journey of your career, am inspired to do more. As I tell you privately, I want to say publicly, I mean, we need more examples of this, at people who just do what they do, you know, and for you, that has always been journalism. And it's who you are, it's what you do, and I think for all of us, we need to reach that. What hit me in the interview is, before it was like, you have free speech, but it doesn't matter if there's one megaphone and you got this one group of people who control that one megaphone. And so I can say whatever it is I'm gonna say, but if my voice can only reach the 2 people on the sides of me, then is my speech really free? Sure, I can say it. To me, YouTube, internet, digital platforms have leveled the playing field. There are no excuses. Your platform is in your phone. You know, so if there's anybody who wants to do good, if there's anybody who thinks they can sing, if there's anybody who wants to do a startup, I'm watching people 23 years old who are in joint ventures that are garnering millions of dollars, and I'm like, nah, girl, no excuses.
Steven Soderbergh shot an entire Netflix film, Michael, with an iPhone 6 Plus, 7 Plus. The whole film.
Yeah.
Now you got to learn how to use it, but he shot it with an iPhone 6 Plus and a 7 Plus. And again, and for the people who, and it kills me because I was talking with somebody, and I use this example all the time when somebody's like, well, when you gonna get a real show? Here's what's interesting. Fox Nation. Because just for y'all to understand, when I launched it, people said, are you crazy? What are you doing? You can't do that. In the year, so first of all, when they canceled TV One, the announcement was early December 2017. Last show was, I think it was December 20th or something like that, okay? So that's when I said we're gonna overdrive. So this has really been from December 2017, we launched September 4th, 2018. There are people who are saying, what are you crazy, are you doing it? Since I announced I was launching this, Michael, Fox Nation has launched a streaming service. NBC has launched a streaming network. ABC has expanded their streaming network. Pluto got sold for $340 million. Cheddar got sold for $200 million, a post-cable network. All of these people, you look at Disney is pulling their shows off of Netflix, launching their own streaming service to compete with Netflix. Warner Media pulled Friends off of Netflix, launching their own streaming service. So it's interesting that all these other people, major companies, are launching streaming services, are launching news networks for this and for this. The folks are like, you shouldn't do that because, you know, that just doesn't sound right. And I'm like, what the hell you call that? And also, I gave you the number of the viewing. And folks, understand, we also do the audio podcast of this show. Here we go to my iPad. My man Keenan sent me this. And so even our podcast plays has been 455,928 since we launched. So you add that with the video views, you're talking about 105 million.
Yep.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see now that everyone has access to these platforms if the rules change. Because the rules always change when diversity enters into the marketplace.
This is also why we fought net neutrality.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what happens if we're still sitting here in a year and the FCC hasn't started coming down on streaming services. And so we'll see. Hopefully it'll stay open, but usually the rules change when people of color and diversity enter the marketplace.
But let me also say this here. Now, here's another graphic I'm going to go to, all right, which is not as large. Can we go to my iPad? So the number of people who actually joined our Bring the Funk fan club. Our target goal the first year was 20,000, giving an average of $5. So we had 2,495. Now, let me unpack that. The reason that's critically important because, again, you can't say, oh, man, it's great that we get to say what we want and we get to hear stories that we don't hear elsewhere and we get to hear voices that we don't hear elsewhere, but then how are you going to pay for it? The reality is, we as African Americans, we pay for a whole lot of stuff. White folks, Latinos, Asians, Native Americans spend money on a whole lot of stuff. The thing, though, is, what are we spending money on? And so when I asked for folks to join our Bring the Funk fan club, giving an average of $50 for a year, some people actually gave more than that. Some gave $100, $250, $1,000. Had a 92-year-old black woman who, and I'm going to pull up in a minute, who before we launched sent me a check for $500. She was 92 years old in Long Island, New York, and she said, your voice matters. That comes out to folks $4.19 a month. That comes out to, 18 cents a day, whatever the number is. Now let me walk you through that. So this is what we've been able to do over the last year with a very small amount of money. We've done 220 original hours worth of shows. We've done more than 30 one-on-one interviews with folks like Spike Lee, Senator Doug Jones, and so many others. We've live streamed more than 30 rallies, conferences, events that have taken place over the course of a year. All independent, not corporate. Thankfully, I've partners that have also been with us as well. So I'm saying that because we also have to support what we do. Black America would not have been able to get through Jim Crow without the Chicago Defender or the Pittsburgh Courier. If black people did not subscribe to those newspapers, they could not have sent folks to the theaters of war overseas, could not have sent people to investigate crimes of racism and discrimination all across the country. So the point I'm making is, if black folks in 1906, in 1910, 1920, could support black newspapers, then why don't we support black media? And that's why, Scott, I call it black media. Because the reality is, if we don't, again, I go back to the first black newspaper, Freedom Journal, 1827. I know you work with NNPA.
Yep.
They said, quote, they wrote in the lead editorial, "We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us."
Right.
And I get emails every day from people. My son is being railroaded. Can you investigate this? I got an EEOC complaint. People have we literally don't have staff who can follow up on these emails. And so that's why, so when people sit at home and go, man, I love the show, but then you don't contribute in any way, what you're really saying is, somebody else, can y'all go ahead and pay for it? But then when stuff, because here's the piece, we will never get canceled if we support us. Like, there will never be a meeting where I get called into where someone says, we're canceling your show, because I'm the one who calls that meeting. Now, I don't want to have to come on the air one day and say, yo, this is our last show. But the reality is, we have to have black folks who support black media. Because if we say, I want it to happen, or I want to see us cover the 2020 election. I got black people right now. Some of y'all are saying, I want to see post-debate analysis. I want to see election night coverage. I want to see all of that. Well, guess what? It don't happen on its own. Car service gets paid for. Staff gets paid for. And so that's why it's important for us. We have to be in the habit of doing just like black people did with black newspapers. You have to subscribe in order for it to continue.
Okay, so Roland, that begs one question.
Yep.
Your show was a morning show. We still need those shows, though.
But they don't exist. There are eight networks, cable and broadcast, that target African Americans. They do 1,344 combined hours of content a week. There's not 1 hour of news. Because here's why. Because Sheila Johnson talked about this when OWN was created. The advertisers have created this system where they say, we're going to fund what folks watch. It becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. So therefore, if I put on comedies or dramas or old sitcoms and you watch them in large numbers, and then I put on this news show over here, which is costly. Original content. So let's say that news show is going to cost $3 to $4 million a year. Well, if I can't even break even on advertising on that because of the numbers, I'm going to cancel it. And so people used to get mad at Bob Johnson. Bob Johnson said the E in BET stands for entertainment. The reality is, people say, man, we need this. The question is, will we support it with our eyeballs? And that has to happen. On an absolutely unbelievable, fantastic, great day, we had about 130,000 viewers for News One Now. Now, I argue that if they put the show in fringe prime time, 6 p.m., or even later, we could have a larger number, and I believe we could have. But again, that was a decision that programming makes. The beauty of what we do is, which is why we must stream multiple times, we don't have that problem. Because I'm not worried about, okay, it's coming up, because although we live at 6 p.m. Eastern, we restream at 10 p.m., 2 a.m., 6 a.m., 10 a.m., 2 p.m. We restream twice a day, Saturday morning, Saturday evening, Sunday morning, Sunday evening, and it's VOD, which means you can watch it on demand as well, and we have audio podcasts. And so we give you all of that, but still what has to happen is we don't have to worry about ratings. The difference with us is if that number was...
are your ratings.
No, but here's the point. If that number was 50 million and we had 20,000 subscribers, that's still no issue. And that's the point. If we still support it, now you're not locked into, I gotta go get sponsors, I gotta go get advertisers, because your subscriber base says, do what y'all do. Build it, we've got the money taken care of. Go ahead.
Okay, but here's the deal though. All righty, you make the case for these social media platforms, right? There are going to be more black networks. Eventually, let's say 5-10 years, it's concept, precept, whatever. There are going to be more networks. They're going to be, and the main networks and cable are going to still be there too. If this platform that you're on is so good, right? At some point in time, somebody's going to come calling Would you go back?
Maybe, but here's the piece,
You
though.
would.
No.
Even with all of this.
Scott, you're wrong.
Okay.
See, because my history already proves you're wrong.
Then what?
I was on TV One. I got paid by TV One before CNN called.
Okay.
I was at the Chicago Defender. I was doing television when CNN called. I didn't want to leave the Chicago Defender. The problem was the black people who own the Chicago Defender said, we just want this to remain a small community newspaper. I'm like, that ain't my vision. That's why I left. I could have done, and this is why they later apologized to me, because they said, man, that was dumb of us. The Chicago Defender could have had they could have been the only black newspaper in America who had their managing editor, who was a commentator on network television, representing a black newspaper every single day. But they had short vision. Okay, they screwed that up. They made a profit. I was there 3 years. We made a profit my last 2 years. They hadn't made a profit in 20 years. They would have had a bigger profit. Now, so I joined CNN. I didn't leave TV One. Election night, 2008. I tell CNN, we want you on the air the whole night. I say, I'll be on the air all night, but I got to leave twice to go do a hit for TV One. They literally said, what are you doing? You're going to be seen in 200 countries. I said, yeah, but they paid me before y'all did. So I never left black media. I had a meeting with John Klein, who was the president of CNN in 2000, this was in 2009. We had lunch, and he said to me, he said, when you gonna stop doing this TV One stuff and Tom Joyner Morning Show and all this other sort of stuff? And I said, when you gonna give me a 5-day-a-week show? Then I might consider it. 2010, John Klein got fired. 2013, CNN didn't renew my contract. This is 2000.
They did or did not?
Did not.
Okay.
This is 2019, 6 years later. I'm still doing Tom Joyner. I did TV One for another 4 years, 5 years before my contract ended. I'm still doing my speeches and my books. I would have been stupid to give up my black platform on the hope of a show one day on CNN. So, if a network calls, I'm gonna still do this because I own this. Now, if somebody then says, well, we want to do something more expansive, then you know what I'll then do? Okay, we're gonna keep this here. I find me another host, I still own it. See, the stupidest thing in the world is for us to let go of something that we control. Right. I had an interview with Winnie Mandela. CNN said, well, why didn't you ask her this, and that? I said, why in the hell y'all didn't have somebody else ask the question? I said, I asked what the hell I wanted to ask. They said, well, we're not gonna run it. I said, all right, cool. John, give me the tape. I'm running my TV One show. See, so even though CNN, didn't want to run it, it still got on. When Winnie Mandela died, we live streamed the entire interview on Roland Unfiltered, and we were down in Memphis for MLK 50. Why? So if CNN had controlled the whole interview, my interview with Winnie Mandela would have never seen the light of day because somebody there in control said, it's not gonna run. But because I control my own show, I said, I'm gonna run it over here. That's why I will never let go of my own stuff because I'm not gonna let somebody else tell me no. I'm gonna say, fine, no for you, but not no for me. Monique, go ahead.
But Roland, I guess.
And Jackie, no, I'm coming to this guest next because because this guest ties into this topic, and so just give me 5 more minutes. Monique, go.
What can we do though to get the message to people who may be watching now about putting your money where your mouth is in terms of what you say you value? Because when the 1619 Project came out last week, who was it that was running it?
Nicole Hannah-Jones.
She put a tweet out just amazed at the people who were complaining about it not being free. And I'm like, jokers.
Right.
Are you kidding me? You pay for a newspaper, and they managed to get this body of work done, something that ain't been done. I mean, and you don't want to pay for it. You watch CNN or whoever, you pay a cable subscription. You pay money every month for that. These nails cost money. This hair costs. We know the value. And you stay clean. So you know, Scott. We all know. And we're not. And it's not. Y'all don't hit them. I'm not saying, girl, no. Check your hair. Get that right. Keep them nails right. I'm not advocating against it. I'm saying that this is a much smaller amount that can provide education, information. We'll have your back when you need it in your community. We'll cover the stories about the stuff that's going on in your community. How do we get the message out to value
First of all, I just think, we got to keep saying it. It's repetition. Today, I've literally sent text messages to about 30 or 40 entertainers who probably collectively in their platforms exceed 75 million, saying, this is our first anniversary. I've already put together, curated 4 tweets. You can just copy and paste. Here's an image, share with your platforms. Now, the question is, will they? See, because here's it. There's no cost. There's no, and people hit me all the time, hey, Roland, can you share this? There's no cost to me to hit retweet. There's no cost to me to go copy, paste, here's a photo, click, it goes out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. The question is, do we see that? And do we practice that? And that's the real thing, I think, Michael, when you talk about, because even to your point about the New York Times, and that's great with 1619 Project, and I'm not dissing it, but that ain't black media.
Right.
That ain't going to black folks. All I'm saying is, that's an amazing package put together, but I told y'all, we did 220 hours of Daily Show. Throw in the 30 to 40 one-hour interviews, throw in the rallies we covered. If I tabulate, and I'm going to have my guy tabulate it, Keenan's probably going to go crazy. I will dare say we did 400 plus hours of black targeted content. There's no black network that can compare. And I dare say, on the news side, there's no black website. The Root, BT.com, Media Takeout, go down the line, that did black news. I'm not talking about entertainment. And that's, I think, what people have to understand. Michael, final comment before I go to my next guest, because this ties into it.
I'm going to co-sign for what Monique and Scott said, and frankly, what you said. I know Jay has your guest on hold, so I'm just going to tell you, you're a pioneer, and congratulations, and to have the courage when the other folks do come at you to say, I'm going to keep my other stuff. And that's what I think is, when you teach your class in communications or media, you need to tell young folks, hold on to your own thing that you own.
Which is also why many of those networks don't call me. See, I need people to understand, because I need some of y'all to understand.
Unbought.
Because literally, I had somebody who told me, so I had a very influential person, black person in media, say, Roland, you know you got lots of enemies in mainstream. Because I understand the power of controlling your narrative. Yep. And I've never allowed somebody else to say, we're going to pay you X amount. Will you leave? Nope. Because there will come a day when they say, nah, we're not going to run that story. And I'm just sorry. I am just not going to ask somebody that don't look like me, can I go cover the Image Awards? Can I go cover American Black Film Festival? Can I go cover MOK 50? Do y'all understand? That wasn't a single cable news show that was in Memphis that broadcast their show. Unless the Hope did the newscast from there, we were there Monday through Thursday. They were only there that anniversary date. What I'm trying to say is this show matters because we don't have to ask anybody else, can we? If the funds were there, we'll be on a plane in the Bahamas. We would do our show from St. Thomas. We would do our show from African nations. We have to understand black newspapers, Robert Abbott, The Defender, A.I. Scott, Atlanta Daily World, they own the papers and they determine what they covered, which is why we celebrate them today. We should not talk about black media only in terms of the past. We should be talking about today and the future going. So trust me, the vision ain't just me having a show. The vision is literally building a digital network with multiple daily and weekly shows, with interstitials, with other reports. Oh, I have a list right now, y'all, of 25 people who I will call in a heartbeat to do that. But you got to have a successful one before you go to two.
Share and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications.